I don't know. It's just that's just so. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna be getting started real soon. RB, how's it going, my man? All right, roll call. Light Force or Dark Force? Though I probably know what the answer is going to be, so I might as well get my light in ready. How's things going, RB? You want to try the Light Force? Want to try the Light Force? Getting my light set up anyway, just if people want like kind of a reference or anything like that. All right, just waiting for some more people to potentially join. All right, I see some people here in the chat. Just a heads up. I am streaming this in both YouTube and Twitch. Just got some DOA 6 going on in the backgrounds because this game looks gorgeous and and you can have it kind of play itself. Good yourself? Hi, oh my. I am doing just dandy. I got my second shot today, so my arm feels like a bitch right now. But other than that, I am doing great. You just cracked one open? Yes, it's chill time right here. So, nothing better than a Saturday night and chillin' with the Force. And my name is pronounced Fun. Because we're going to have some fun. Alright, anyone that just want to throw out some questions, just go right ahead or anything like that. You could just throw out any questions. I'll throw out my question too at the same time. I might as well just say this straightforward. What do you think of the state of 3D fighters right now in 2021? Not in 2019, not in 2018, but in 2021 in particular. In terms of visuals, I think I think that most 3D fighters now, quite frankly, look gorgeous. I mean, as you guys probably know, about 2.5 months ago, Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown got, or I should say, Virtua Fighter 5 ended up getting a remake. So the game looks pretty decently now. I would have hoped they could have released on maybe more powerful hardware than the PS4. Not that the PS4 is terrible or anything, but it is essentially an 8-year-old console right now. They look way better. So in terms of visuals, 3D fighters are fine. So what aspects do you think hold back 3D fighters? Hello Miku Megurine. Is that I pronounce it right? Or is that Megurine? Hello, what do you think of DOA 6 on PC? Dead or Alive 6 on PC is fantastic. Compared to Dead or Alive 5 last year on PC, which felt incomplete, Dead or Alive 6 runs well on PC, it looks well on PC, and basically I'm pretty certain that it was the lead platform for the game. Dead or Alive 5 was such a gorgeous game. Oh, yes it is. Dead or Alive 5... Well, either the Xbox One or PS4 version, yeah, it looked really good. Like DOA 5 or a 6. Between the two, I honestly would probably give a slight edge to DOA 6. DOA 5 does have a bit of an advantage in just simply having more stages. Out of all the DOA games, DOA 5 I think had by far the most stages from what I could remember though. Because most DOA games only have like around 15-ish. I think they're between 15 to 20 stages. Like Dead or Alive 6 I think has 15 stages. Where like Dead or Alive 4 I think had 16 stages. So Dead or Alive, I know Dead or Alive 5 had like almost 30 stages, but that was also built up over 3 different iterations with Dead or Alive 5, Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate, and Dead or Alive 5 Last Round. So I mean, it's in terms of Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, it's no wonder it has more stages. But in terms of raw visuals, both DOA 6 and Dead or Alive 5 both look honestly like really gorgeous. Out of all the 3D fighters, I think the only 3D fighter which comes close to kind of matching like Dead or Alive 6's visuals is Soul Calibur 6, which I think looks really good. I mean, Dead or Alive 5 looks gorgeous. I'll say straight up, aside from Soul Calibur 6 and of course to an extent Dead or Alive 6, I'd say Dead or Alive 5 Last Round looks better than all the other 3D fighters. DOA 5 had great... Yes, DOA 5 stages were fantastic. It depends on how they bring out the content. I'm terrible at FGs, but was enjoying Dead or Alive 6, and then it just sort of disappeared. Dead or Alive 6? What do you mean by disappeared? Dead or Alive 6 has always kind of been in relatively the same spot. Like, you're not talking about the content being stopped, right, or anything like that? Because you have to remember that, Dead or Alive 5 was a pretty quiet game also. I mean, Dead or Alive 5 didn't really start to gain any sort of traction until, I think, Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate. Do you think Dead or Alive will navigate as a fighting game if all the news about the game is reduced to Dead or Alive Venus Vacation? What do you mean by all the news reduced to Venus? So you're saying if all the Dead or Alive news is just on the DOA XVV, that will... You think that will benefit the game as a fighting game? Oh, for my thoughts on that, I'd probably have to say no. I don't think that Venus Vacation really helps Dead or Alive as a fighting game at all. because a lot of people think that is the main Dead or Alive game. And as of right now, Dead or Alive Extreme Venus Vacation might as well be the main DOA game because that's what's making Koei Tecmo the money. That is what they're focusing on, and that is what they're focusing a lot in the Asian markets. So, but with regards to the fighting game, all it does is it gives people the wrong perception of the game. It heavily affects the game's reputation as a fighting game, as in people think it's not a fighting game. A lot of people think that the fighting game is the spin-off, and DOA X is the main game. But that's also... anyone who's obviously been following DOA since forever knows that's not true. DOA X... I mean, Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, for instance, started after Dead or Alive 3 back in the Xbox era. So, I mean, there was 3 mainline DOA games before DOA X was even a thing. Alright, though, but, like... let me see if there's any other questions. Remember, just dump your questions all right here. I will get to all of them. I'll give you guys solid 2 hours to work with. Alright, I'm guessing you guys are probably going to want to start with DOA and all that, but what do you guys think of the current state of DOA as of right now? July 2021. Like, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, as of April 2020, so basically last year, April, Team Ninja officially didn't stop coming out with new content for Dead or Alive 6. So they basically ended up having 4 season passes, I mean, in total. To put things in perspective, Dead or Alive 6 still has a lot more content than Soul Calibur 6, which, for instance, only got 2 season passes. So, I mean, they dumped all the content really quickly. And also, a lot of games probably don't even straight up get content after a year sometimes. Although, I know with fighting games, it's a lot more common for... it's a lot more common for games to simply come out with, I know, content for like over a year, having season passes. Alright, Navi says dead. Alright, let me know your statuses right now. We got 1 dead. Any other? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? This is like an informal poll right now. Unless you want me to actually put together a poll. I still like it just 1 SP button that... and right now, because I want to make sure that everyone does end up contributing, I'm going to have Ayani staring at you right now in the chat. Ayani's staring at you. Don't mind me just taking a look in the Twitch chat also. DOA should have had its own world tour after the Evo Mr. Wizard thing. Well, DOA did have a world tour in 2019. So from the game's launch in March of 2019 up until November of, well, the same year. But judging by the 10 million yen pot, I'm guessing that was a very expensive endeavor for Koei Tecmo. And no, I'm not trying to be extreme. I generally think DOA is dead right now. I started with the 6th game. Loved the demo of DOA 5, so I bought 6. I kind of regret it. I learned Hanukkah in and out. I feel like my time was wasted. Do you live in any sort of region that has any sort of like a offline scene or even allowed to be able to play with anyone? Because if you think that like Dead or Alive 6 is dead, then what do you think of games like Soul Calibur 6 or Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown? I mean, another thing also to keep in mind though is for people thinking that Dead or Alive 6 is having a rough time right now. Does anyone remember what Soul Calibur 5 was like after the first 5 or 6 months of that game? I know that's dating all the way back to 2012, but I'll just let you know that. I mean, if Dead or Alive 6 looks rough now, there's games that have had it potentially rougher. Like, all right, what was the game now? Marvel versus Capcom 4, I think. Oh, Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. Like, I remember that game also had it really rough. Hello, Abdullah Muhammad. DOA 6 is doing well on Xbox. Not sure anywhere else. Which Xbox is that, though? Because, again, anyone will know I'll praise the hell out of it. The game looks damn gorgeous on an Xbox One X, and even better on a Series X. Soul Calibur 6, haven't really played it. Mortal Kombat 11, even Mortal Kombat 10, I can jump on right now and find 10 good connection matches in little over half an hour. Mortal Kombat is actually a pretty popular game though. Like, those games sell well over like 5 million units, like, no problem. So yeah, in terms of like overall casual base and whatever, Mortal Kombat does attract a lot of players. I know it also does technically have an active competitive scene also. Although in terms of Mortal Kombat 11, I actually heard that they're probably going to be stopping content for the game like not too long from now for Mortal Kombat 11. Or specifically Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. Xbox One. Nice. Glad to see you can find people on Xbox One. Because as you probably know, Dead or Alive, basically it was essentially exclusive to Xbox for like 10, 11 years or something like that. But from 2001 to about 2011-ish, 2012-ish. So yeah, it's just glad to hear that DOA is doing well on Xbox. DOA 6 on PC as of this month is stagnant. It's the same pool of players and a rather small pool of that. We really should have gotten more than a year of support and balanced fixes for the game. The thing about DOA 6 that some people have to kind of keep in mind, do you know why Koei Tecmo only did 15 months of support? Because people were basically kind of complaining about the game from like the get-go. It obviously didn't really perform that well overall. I'm pretty sure it performed below expectations under most circumstances. So, the fact that the game got over a year of support is actually kind of impressive in itself. And it did technically get a lot of overall content. Like you said, the average video game probably doesn't even get like a year of content. So, I know Dead or Alive 5 last round got content for quite a few years, though. Because, obviously that game sold a lot of DLC money. But, like, Dead or Alive 6 had a lot of, like, kind of negative PR, negative press around the game, though. So, the game kind of struggled out of the gate, and it never really was able to kind of recover that well. It is a shame, because I honestly think it's an utterly fantastic game. It's arguably probably one of the funner 3D fighters to play. It's my opinion, of course. But, I would have loved it if Koei Tecmo can give a bit more support to the game, but it's honestly, probably from a financial standpoint, it's probably not really very viable for them. Like, they released 4 season passes for the game. Like, that's still quite a bit of content. No, they did. They gave it a good 2 years and mixed the meta up constantly. Mortal Kombat 11. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember 2D fighters like Mortal Kombat do tend to have it kind of you're right, like what you call meta mix-ups. So it's like every patch in like a 2D fighter like Mortal Kombat can actually change up the meta quite a bit. Where 3D fighters don't get the meta changed up that much from patches in comparison. Alright, let's see right now. DOA 6 on PC has local players and even esports players like a Hackball, Ivanov, Hoodless. Oh, you mean Ultima Ivanov? Oh, talking about Ultima. I ended up posting on my Twitter his 9.5 minute long video on Fuzzy Guard, and it's really good. It's really good. Like, support it, guys. Like, give it a check out. I thought it was really well done, and I'd like to see more stuff like that. Although I admit that his voice was a little soft, so it was a little hard to hear at times, but it was still a pretty well put together video. I got reported twice on Xbox One. They said I was cheating. Unless you're using a lag switch, I don't know how you cheat in DOA. This is the one game that actually gives you the tools to deal with people that are likely going to be cheating. Although I know on PC some people can use hacks. I'm not going to name names. But yeah, on console there shouldn't be any like hacks or cheating or anything like that. Do you think a DOA 7 is possible? My response to that is anything's possible. But you're going to have to let Koei Tecmo know that you want it, and you're going to have to do it in a way that doesn't come off as either spammy, trolly, or annoying. It's just unfortunate that they launched it in the way they did. I think it's awesome, to be honest. I agree with you, Navi. I actually would say Dead or Alive 6's primary issue, aside from marketing, was that the game released probably about 2.5 months, or about 2.5 months before I thought it was really finished. Because after about the mid-May 2019, once they had lobbies fully finished and all that, it was actually a pretty solid game, though. A lot of the complaints of the game, or like legitimate complaints, were based on like the first 2 weeks, where the costume, where for instance the costume grind was ridiculous. I remember at first, and they fixed it after 2 weeks. Some balance stuff. They didn't have. I remember there was a lot of sidestep attack spam, so they changed that by having sidesteps cost meter. So I mean, yeah, if they just maybe gave it a little bit more time in the grill, and also releasing within what I consider Mortal Kombat 11's hype window hurt the game a lot. Although if it released in like May or June, it might have been in Samurai Showdown's window, but being in either like Tekken's shadow or being in Mortal Kombat's shadow is generally not a good thing if your product is very niche. It's just unfortunate they launched it the way they did. It's awesome. Maybe they released it too early. Plus, those DLC prices spiked the negative. I don't think it was the DLC prices in itself. It's kind of the way how they went about it, though, because you remember that Koei Tecmo is a very Japanese company. It's just the fact is that when people see $93 season pass, they're like, wait a minute, is that a pack of DLC that's $93? Even though when you see it, I mean, it comes with a lot of stuff in it, but the thing I guess they probably forget to say is that you can technically play Dead or Alive 6 for free. That those expensive DLC prices have nothing to do with the game in the sense that you can play it for free. You can play it. Oh, Icarus17, thank you for the follow. I just saw that. Just saw that appear right now. Yes, I know I'm still pretty new to streaming. Now let me just, if I could just remember to collect my thought. Oh geez, the comments are coming in. Sorry. Oh yeah, about the DLC price. Technically speaking, especially again, once the lobbies are ready, I'd say right now DOA 6 is a complete game. The game actually has a lot of unlockable costumes and stuff like that. It has a lot more than almost any other fighting game I've played. I mean, aside from games that are like compilations, like I know like Dead or Alive 5 last round has a lot of costume because it's the 4th version of Dead or Alive 5. And I know that Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate had a lot of costumes, but it also only had 15 characters, and only the 6 female characters got a lot of costumes. But compared to the average fighting game, I'd say Dead or Alive 6's quantity of costumes is... I'd say it's perfectly respectable, because most fighting games do not have a lot of costumes. Megarine Mikues, thank you for the follow. Alright. The only question I now have with regards to that, what would you guys think of costume customization in not in even Dead or Alive 6, but in a future Dead or Alive game? Madish Radish, what's up? Alright, moving along. Do you think that taking out the age slider hurt the game? No. Oh my, you're an OG if you remember the age slider. Do you know what they changed the age slider with? A category called breast motion. Even though Dead or Alive 6 keeps the breast motion, it keeps it G though. It's basically just natural or unnatural. So, it's either DOA it like, which is natural, or it's basically like a couple blocks on their chest if you choose unnatural. WTF is an age slider. Play DOA 2, 3, or 4, and you'll figure out what it is, Navi. Just to let you know that any of the sexualizing in DOA did not start with 5, if anyone's wondering, or 6. I hope Tamaki stays in the DOA series in the future as a playable character. My friends don't like Tamaki. I don't understand them. Tamaki is a copied image from Takagaki Kaede Idolmaster anime. What a coincidence! Because Hanaka looks like another character called Hanaka from Love Live. So, I mean, now we know where we get the inspiration from. I actually personally like how Tamaki looks. And I like the way how they visually and just the overall, the way how they translated her in Dead or Alive 6 though. I mean, she looks great. Giving her an Aikido fighting style was a good choice. I would have liked it if they maybe could have added maybe a little more to her fighting, to her moveset, such as maybe an extra stance or something. But otherwise, I kind of liked what they did with Tamaki, because as soon as I heard that a DOA X character was coming in DOA 6, I'm pretty sure I could hear the collective groan from over here. Maybe a longer beta could have been better. For real, they could have gotten the blue arrows in the way. Oh crap! Maybe a longer beta could have been better for. That is actually an interesting thing. The two betas for Dead or Alive 6 were pretty close to release. The first one was when? Not even 2 weeks into January, like January 11th or something. And then the second beta was like I think the last weekend of February. I think it was a week or two before the game launched. That did seem pretty close to a beta. Like a game like I don't know, I'm just saying something off the top of my head, and I know I know Guilty Gear gave a bit of time for the betas, but something like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus had a beta like 8 or 9 months before it released or something like that. Like the game ended up releasing like February or March of 2020, and it had its beta on like the last weekend of May in 2019. But I do admit that the betas were quite close. Do you actually know something that kind of hurts games like DOA or Soul Calibur, but is something that really benefits Tekken? Having an arcade release before the console versions. Like Dead or Alive 6 and Dead or Alive 5, I think Ultimate got arcade releases in Japan, for instance. They ended up getting those like after the main games had released. Where Tekken had 2.5 years to fine-tune its game in the arcade. Like let me try and remember. So January 2015 was when the Tekken 7 was in the arcade, and then it released in June 2017, so that's like 2.5 years to tweak it. The only downside of that is I really kind of hate the way how arcade ports look of games. Like they can look pretty ugly though. Thanks RB for your faith in me. The problem with the DOA players are the free-to-play people with garbage connections, at least on the Xbox. That was going to be a topic in this chat at some point, but I might as well touch on it right now. I actually don't think garbage connections is the problem. I hate to say it, it's garbage netcode that's the problem. Any game with good netcode can handle bad connections decently. Basically, the players will they teleport in a bad connection. I'm basically throwing delay-based netcode on blast right now. Delay-based netcode handles bad connections awfully. So basically, if someone plays on a bad connection or plays on Wi-Fi, it will feel like garbage on delay-based netcode. Which is pretty simple as that. I never get wired people anymore, so I've just accepted at this point. Oh, and that's just a reality thing. For any game, most people play on Wi-Fi. It's just, unfortunately, how it is. If anyone's wondering, I do have Ethernet cables, so, you don't have to worry about that with me. Alright, now from Abdullah. DOA 4 lobby system would have been good if they kept that model. Oh, for sure. Dead or Alive 4's lobbies were godlike. The netcode was not really godlike, but the lobby system was godlike though, even though the game was laggy as all hell. Like, I'll give Itagaki one huge credit. His DOA games were very ambitious. Like, I'll just start with DOA 2 because I didn't really play DOA 1 when it was in its prime. DOA 2, I started with hardcore. Fantastic game. Dead or Alive 3 was also quite ambitious, even if it could have had a little bit more content. But it looked gorgeous and had great cutscenes. And DOA 4, to this day, I think is the best balance between having online offerings and, I guess, decent, engaging offline offerings, and having good, and also having good online. Wow, I think I'm just screwing up with my head right now. Alright, it has a good balance between offline and online. That's what I'm trying to say. Hello, Farce. Don't make everyone have the same costume. You mean palette swaps? What game are you talking about, though? When you think of palette swaps, I'm literally thinking of, like, Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat or something, where all the ninjas were, like, palette swaps or something. Do we get games now where characters are basically just palette swaps or something like that? I know we get games sometimes where characters can have like copied what's the term I'm looking for? They can have copied movesets, but I don't think any characters are actually like palette swaps right now. Graphics are like very complex right now. It sounds great. Do you think of DOA 6 characters making guest appearance? What, you mean in other games? Isn't there a game called KOF All-Stars where 4 DOA characters are going to be making an appearance in the game? If I remember correctly, it was Kasumi, Neo Tengu, Hanaka, and Mary Rose, and I ended up just throwing shade out there. Where's Ayane? Where's Ayane? How can you have 4 DOA characters and Ayane not be one of them? I mean, what? Does she really just scare the people who play KOF All-Stars or something? DOS1. What? Oh. DOA 1. Hey. DOA 1 was kind of boss though, even though I only played the Dead or Alive Ultimate, which was basically a remake of it, or I should say, well, I guess I should just say remaster, because the graphics are pretty much like the original, and it was okay though. For what was it, like a mid-90s 3D fighter, it was, Dead or Alive 1 was actually one of the better looking ones. Faye James, hello, what are you talking about? What am I talking about? Right now, I'm talking about 3D fighters. At the moment, I'm predominantly talking about DOA. But if anyone wants to share any thoughts whatsoever on the state of 3D fighters right now, as some may guess, I'm mostly thinking of in terms of Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur, and Virtua Fighter. I might as well state it right now that Tekken is basically thriving. So I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. But as I go on, I can also ponder and evaluate on why Tekken 7 does so well. Because I could give you some ideas why it does. I already hinted at one of them, which is that it got a 2.5-year arcade release. So I had a lot of time to work out balance-related things. Alright, I'm going to go back to the question about DOA 6 characters making a guest appearance. Although you're probably just meaning DOA characters making a guest appearance. I personally don't mind that. I have no problem seeing Ayane, Kasumi, Hayabusa, hell, even Hayate in other games or fighting games. That question could also be twisted to right now. Would you like to see DOA characters in Virtua Fighter? Would you like to see Dead or Alive characters in Tekken? Would you like to see DOA characters go back in time and make an appearance in Soul Calibur? Because I would absolutely love to use a character like Ayane in Soul Calibur and using my spin-based zoning and spinning around and everything in the game in Soul Calibur. It'd be so dope. Even Ayane in this costume right now, I just love this ninja costume with her. Yeah. Oh, I have to apologize. I just realized I've gone behind on the chat. New mistake might be right there. Oh, jeez, I have to apologize for that. The chat didn't scroll down. I don't think it was a mechanics issue. I think it suffered from the solo casual being so unbalanced. That costume grind, you fired it up and it looked impossible you'd ever achieve. Oh, I would say, yeah. Within the first couple of weeks of DOA, the costume grind was brutal. But after 2 weeks, again, they fixed it. I actually think the costume grind is very, I think it's very fair right now. You could, after a run on arcade mode, if you play on like Master or Legend difficulty, you can technically unlock multiple costumes at once if you get enough costume parts. Because you get like over 900 costume parts if you beat a legendary run on either like arcade or like on Time Attack. So good. Whereas with previous DOA games, like with Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, you only unlocked one costume per, let's say, story run. So I think the way how the costume unlocking is now is fine. I mean, part of the reason why it takes a while to unlock costumes is because there are so many costumes in Dead or Alive 6. So there's a lot of stuff to unlock. But in terms of actual offline content, Dead or Alive 6 does have a lot of unblockables. All I would have maybe considered is maybe making the quest mode a little bit more engaging. Making it, I guess, more of like a challenge mode as opposed to a kind of glorified tutorial-like thingy. He's spitting. What? Good netcode or bust? Testify, Faye. Testify. I'm tired of the Kasumi Wi-Fi. You're not the only one, man. Alright. Stupid tactics like low hold and out of pressure is so silly for the game. Characters without good mid struggle because of that. That's actually an interesting point, though, because with regards to tweaks for DOA, what would thoughts be on Alright, sorry if I'm really late on the chat, though. I have to probably go through this. What are people's thoughts on let's say if Dead or Alive either got rid of low holds or made it that you had to spend maybe 10% of meter for a hold or something like that? All right, if people have a question, is it possible to just use like a super chat or something, even if it's like a little amount or something like that, because it puts the question to the top for me. All right, I'm just gonna go through this. So let me see. The game also suffers from a lack of content creators promoting the game. Yes, that is a big one, and that is a huge advantage that Tekken has. DOA massively suffers from content creators. Another thing that's even worse than not having content creators are people that talk shit about the game or don't say positive things. I have tried my best to try and be positive, not be negative about it, or I do try and keep it real when I can. But yes, the lack of positive vibes is, I think, what hurts the game more so than the actual game itself. We'll never forget the joy felt using Hitomi and getting wins. F rank was a great... Alright, let's see again from James. Palette swaps are okay, but it's the costume sets 3 to 4 that bloat the season pass. I actually will call out Koei Tecmo a bit that there's probably a little too much there is probably a little too much palette swapping in the costume passes. So, like, I know that's cheaper to produce, but you're also bringing attention to the fact that I really preferred it when the costume sets were original ones. Like back when early in Dead or Alive Ultimate, there's the casual DLCs where every character got their own costume, or like the Halloween contest where every character got their own costume. I thought those were the best packs, and those ones I thought were a bit more worth it. I do admit that over palette swaps is kind of silly though. Oh, unruly. Shermie's coming to save the FGC next year. KOF 15. Yeah, Shermie is pretty hot. But yeah, we'll see how KOF 15 turns out, because if I remember correctly, KOF 14 didn't do so hot. There we go. Lots of characters. Would like to see arcades make a comeback in the US. Not just the US, the Western world in general. That is a massive shame, and I think that hurt fighting games a lot in general, is arcades going downhill. Because I feel that a lot of Japanese developers haven't really been able to adapt to the net codes, well, outside of Japan, and I think that has hurt fighting games a lot, though. That's why Guilty Gear Strive getting rollback is a big thing, even though Killer Instincts had rollback for like almost 8 years now. IMS minus DOA 6 has the best defense to come back from a fight. DOA 6's defenses is pretty good though, but I find it can be a little hard to backdash stuff in DOA compared to like other fighting games. So like Virtua Fighter, I remember, has like Virtua Fighter has a really good backdash. Soul Calibur is a really good backdash. Tekken has a really crazy Korean backdash system. So yeah, in DOA it can be a little hard to. It can be a little hard for, well, I guess space and base defenses. Holds give me a headache. I'm tired of thinking. Spend 10% on the holds. Sound good. Perhaps Koei Tecmo underestimated the impact of marketing through content. Yes, they have. Do you know a game that has done incredibly well due to what's called, I guess you can call it influencer marketing with streamers? Does anyone know the game Apex Legends? Just let me know. Does anyone here know Apex Legends? Excuse me for a moment. I'm just also checking out both chats right now. Yep, sure you guys have heard about it. Apex Legends is a game that got a massive boost in its first month because of streamers like Ninja, for instance, promoting the hell out of that game. And basically what happens, people see these streamers playing this game, and then they want to play it, and they join on it. As a result, Apex Legends, I think, got as much as possibly 50 million players in its first month. That is ridiculous. Could you see a game like DOA getting anywhere even remotely close to that? 5 million players even. You also have to remember, though, that Dead or Alive 6 also has a free-to-play version, although, I mean, it doesn't really work in the same way. And it came out 2 months after the game. But that's just kind of like putting stuff in perspective, though. Like, technically, as of right now, Dead or Alive is still technically a free-to-play game. The guys who did Titan... Yes! Really good developer. Respawn Entertainment are really good, though. They've done the Titanfall games. They've done Apex Legends. And they did the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game. So they're really good American developer. Busy raging at my teammates. I don't know, though. Alright, let's talk a little bit about Apex Legends. Most people in Apex Legends are okay, I guess. Because the people who play stupidly usually get killed pretty quickly and then they just rage. But that's another issue altogether. Yes, the Apex Legends community can be kind of toxic at times, but team-based games are usually toxic. I just played like the 4th of Vegas before I joined the stream. Yeah, Apex Legends, you either get people who know what they're doing, or people that die really easily and basically just leave after their first death. I like Among Us. Alright, let me know, what is Among Us? I've heard of the game, but I'm not sure what it is. The F2P in DOA 6 is very generous compared to DOA 5 in my opinion. I'm trying to remember back to Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate and Dead or Alive 5 Last Rounds free-to-play mode. If I remember correctly, both free-to-play modes are both very generous. You can play every mode except the story mode, and they let you use 4 characters for free. Killer Instinct's free-to-play, I think, only let you play Jago or something like that. And also, Dead or Alive 6 made the right move in giving you a variety of characters. You have your Ninja Kasumi, you have your Karate Girl and second best waifu Hitomi, and then you have your Brawler Diego, and you have a heavyweight grappler in Bass. There we go. I might look into Virtua Fighter, but scared of being abandoned like DOA 6. When is Bike... Good question. I was wondering about that, because even though my Cham Cham guide was a little kind of quiet in terms of reception, I am open to doing more Samurai Showdown guides. But yeah, Samurai Showdown seems to have, I think Samurai Showdown might be struggling with following more than DOA 6 in my experience. But yes, I would like to see how Biken is in Samurai Showdown, because I think that's actually a bit of an underrated game in itself, though. I mean, that game is in 4K on an Xbox One X or better. Now, with regards to Virtua Fighter, that game does not have a free-to-play version. However, I think up until the end of this month, you can play it. You can basically play it for free off of PlayStation Plus. So that has brought in quite a bit of people, but I will state right now that how that game is overall, quite frankly, is not sufficient for basically maintaining growth or anything like that. Like, mechanically, the game is it's the most solid fighting game ever, but it wouldn't be completely unrealistic to say that. I'll just say straight up, I think Dead or Alive 6 is a better overall game than Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. Ultimate Showdown has the best overall mechanics, but that's the only thing it really does well. It struggles on every other front, in my opinion. Dead or Alive 6 also kind of looks better than everything else in terms of visual, too. It is a game... Oh, you're talking about Among Us? It is a game who had the same momentum as Apex last year. Basically a mobile in the game. I've heard of that, and I've also heard of a game also called, like, there's games like Undertale, Genshin Impact, like games like that, though. Games of... Yeah, Apex got like 50 million players in the first month, and then it dropped. It dropped off a fair bit. But when you have 50 million players, you can have a massive like 85% drop off and still have a crap ton of people still playing. Will the game last? I broke my controller for Ellie. Are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about Virtua Fighter? We'll have to see when the game stops being free on PlayStation Plus, which I think is by next month. As of right now, Virtua Fighter, I think, is doing fine. It's what now, about 7 weeks old, turns, I think, maybe 8 weeks old next week, I think. Like, Virtua Fighter did great for the first 2 weeks, and then, yeah, it definitely kind of slowed down. Sadly, VF got Ono Darkstalker streaming. as some people probably know, I want to like VF. It's just that I just wish that Sega would have more faith in the game. Don't release Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. Release Virtua Fighter 6. You already released Final Showdown. That game did not do as well because it was just more Virtua Fighter 5 after 6 years. When you release Ultimate Showdown, that is just more Virtua Fighter 5 after 15 years. Although this is going to sound ironic. I know that it's even after 15 years, it's still the most solid 3D fighter. You know, that feels like I'm throwing shade at every fighting game, but it's the most solid. But then, the mechanics are a start. You have to do everything else. I know this sounds kind of sad, but the area that Virtua Fighter struggles in is honestly what I feel Dead or Alive mostly does well to an extent. Visuals, graphics, sense of style. Although I do admit that DOA struggles a bit with presentation also. Like, it's got the visual part down. It's got the kind of... I don't know if saying hype matches is the right thing, but it has the potential for exciting matches. Oh, excuse me. Samurai Shodown is a good game. It's just many people bash the game like Max. I personally kind of take Maximilian with a grain of salt. His opinions are his opinions, and of course, I mean, I respect that. He's a huge YouTuber. He can say whatever the hell he wants, and he's also a fan of Killer Instinct, which is good, but when someone like Maximilian craps on a game, that's really bad. That's basically like the anti-influencer effect. Whereas what you want to do is have a lot of positive... what you want to do is have a lot of positive influencer endorsement. But as soon as you have people talking crap about the game, that's like the anti-influencer, and that's like a huge negative against the game. If I'm not mistaken, I think Soul Calibur is probably half and half in terms of people either liking it or talking crap about like Soul Calibur 6. What's up, Morgan? I'm not sure if I point out your name out there, sorry. I hope there's no free-to-play for a possible Dead or Alive 7. Do all the mechanics right and just to charge a solid price character, that's it. Actually, I'm going to say right now that free-to-play, or offering a free-to-play is not the issue with DOA 6. I actually think that Dead or Alive 7 should give a chance with it. The question, of course, is how do you go about it? Do you go all in at the start, kind of like Killer Instinct? Or do you kind of like half-ass it a little bit like how DOA does, where you sell it as a full game, and then, okay, we're going to release the free-to-play like 2 weeks later like that. At least with Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate, they released the free-to-play the same day as the main game. My man X2009, what is up? Yes! Virtua Fighter 6, please. I think I also mentioned it on my Twitter, too. This is just something that's weird. Why does Virtua Fighter 5 look more detailed than the Final Showdown? And I think also it might look a little better. It looks a bit more detailed than Ultimate Showdown. Even though Ultimate Showdown has like a slightly higher resolution. Virtua Fighter 5 is just so much more detailed. It feels like they put a lot more effort into that game, where Final Showdown just feels gimped. Same with Ultimate Showdown. Like, it's the same like gimpness. Sam Show needs rollback. Definitely. Sam Show might be the most complained about game with regards to with regards to netcode. Even though every Japanese fighting, pretty much every modern Japanese fighting game except Guilty Gear Strive honestly has unacceptable netcode in my opinion. But Sam Show is considered to be that's like playing underwater though. And like Sam Show only has like 2-hit combos for the most part, the odd 3-hit combo. That game is completely neutral based, so if you can't move properly, you can't engage in footsies properly. As a result, it's hard to play like Sam Show properly online. But on the bright side, you don't have to worry about combo execution that much, however. And I play Charlotte, where confirm into DP is the only thing you need anyway. Hello, Gabriel Cavarro Veo Santos. Oof. You have to let me know. Is that Portuguese? That sounds Portuguese. Samurai Shodown on PC at least also had the issue of being an epic, exclusive for a while. Yeah. I know the Steam community hates it when things are exclusive to Steam. Again, that's just limiting the fan base. Oh, crap. Trying to catch up to the chat right now. Alright, I'm just doing a slight apology to the Twitch chat. It's just that the YouTube chat is actually... I'm trying to keep up to it, so I apologize. I am not ignoring you guys. I'm just trying to keep up right now. Remember, again, if you have like a question or something like that or anything, that just give me like a super chat, even a small one. I don't care how it is, because what it does is it brings the question to the top for me. All right, go right here. What if nobody? You can't release new fighting games without it, but yeah. As of 2021, no excuse for no rollback. Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown not releasing the rollback was just a huge kick in the balls for the game and to the VF community. Releasing 11 days between Guilty Gear was that's just dumb marketing in my opinion. But I add a bit of story in the DLC. Story DLC would be cool, but I have a feeling that would probably be pretty expensive because it would be done in the form of cutscenes, which requires a lot of man hours to produce. But yeah. I mean, I'd say modern fighting games just need more offline content in general. But if nobody talks crap about the game, they wouldn't learn much. What do you mean by that? You have to remember, there's a difference between complaining and constructive criticism. Developers don't necessarily listen to complaining unless they choose to just listen to, online casuals or like whatever. But I find that if a lot of people scream at developers and it's not constructive, it doesn't necessarily help them. But as some can guess, I'm on the side of constructive criticism. My issue with free to play is when there's games with tons of DLC. I actually don't think free to play is a problem. Apex Legends does free to play beautifully. I personally don't like Fortnite, but Apex Legends, you can literally play the game for free. And then if you want any more characters, you just simply buy them or play the crap out of the game to unlock them. If Dead or Alive 7 did a free-to-play, it could do it that way. The free-to-play model is great. That's me. Max has killed a lot of my favorite games like Rainbow. Yeah. I guess to put things in perspective, even if Max talks crap out of games, unfortunately there's probably a lot of other either content creators or streamers that do that also. I mean, in my personal opinion, I felt that Grand Blue was completely not enough for a fully priced game. I mean, 11 characters with one unlockable character for $80 Canadian is not, it comes out to about $60 American is not. It's not really a good investment though, and of course, a 2020 game with delay-based netcode is a huge no. With that said, Grand Blue Fantasy is like such a gorgeous game. Like, just look at this cover though. I mean, the artwork in the game is just beautiful. I mean, it's just such a good game, though. I actually think it has a better looking cover than, like, Guilty Gear Strive, for instance. Not that Guilty Gear Strive's cover is bad, but, like, you kind of get the idea. If going free-to-play, release both versions on the same day, yes. DOA... Sup, Louis Barish, DOA 7? Ask them. You gotta ask them for DOA 7. I don't think there's any plans now. They might have a Dead or Alive 6 Ultimate in the plans, and if they did that, it would have to obviously be Xbox Series X, PS5, Steam, and have tag mode. Because I know that the new hardware can handle tag mode, where the older hardware couldn't handle it on DOA 6's engine. Because it would lag terribly, probably. DOA 6 had $1,000 of DLC. It depends. Well, it probably did. Because remember though, a lot of people who talk about DOA 6's DLC, like I've seen YouTubers talk about it, they just go to Steam, count it all up, and say, "Oh crap, that's a lot of money." But another thing you have to keep in mind is that it's literally all the packages, all the DLC, and the season passes together. So you're not expected to buy all of it. You're expected to just buy what you want. So it's not really fair to say, "Oh, it's got thousands of dollars." I mean, why should that be a negative? It's better than having it all in the game and charging you like $200 to play the game or something like that. Even though I'd probably be crazy enough to buy a $200 special edition. I just had a funny feeling that DOA as a series might see a reboot. Oh, games have gotten reboots for less. Dead or Alive on paper actually does need a reboot. Mortal Kombat got a reboot. It's doing well now. What else is there? Samurai Shodown got a reboot. Killer Instinct got a reboot and it honestly did quite well for itself. I mean, definitely after the first year when more people started getting the Xbox One. Even though I know Samurai Shodown's reboot's kind of slow though, but like, on paper, DOA 6 will either need a reboot or what Soul Calibur 6 did in kind of a return to basics kind of notion. Will DOA ever be accepted by the FGC? If it gets promoted properly, and if it honestly plays more like VF, I can see it getting accepted as... Unfortunately though, when it comes to 3D fighters, I find the fighting game community is not as familiar with it. Like, basically, the only one they're really familiar with is Tekken, because the other three games kind of struggle. So if a 3D fighter doesn't play like Tekken, they don't get it. If that makes any sense. I know. People cool off games for not having rollback and still play. Hey. If we're being technical, Street Fighter V does have rollback. It's Capcom's completely backwards twisted delay-based rollback, but it's still rollback. And it's still 3. There we go. DOA default costumes need to be non-lewd, but they need to have it. This is actually the funny thing. Both Dead or Alive 5 and Dead or Alive 6's default costumes are not lewd. I actually would have been perfectly fine if Dead or Alive 6 had an option for only default costumes in tournaments, as opposed to doing that kind of weird censorship tournament mode thing they ended up doing, which of course no one ever used anyway. But they need to have access to lewd outfits. The funny thing is that Dead or Alive 6 was somewhat on the right track by having the default costumes being normal, and then if you wanted the lewd costumes, you had to work to unlock them. Like, so that's how some games, I think, in Japan or Asian markets kind of do things, though. They kind of keep the loot. They make it that the people who want the loot stuff, they kind of work for it. So I know that some reviewers also pointed out that a loot costumes almost feels like a badge of honor in DOA 6 because of how long it takes to unlock it. Although it's faster now, though. And Grand Blue still isn't ever on... Well, the closest to Grand Blue being on sale, I think, was like... It's $70 Canadian here, which is... I don't know how much that is American, like maybe 53 or something. $53, I don't know. Grand Blue and Samurai Showdown have been like at least $65 Canadian for their entire lifespan. That just is a huge barrier to get a lot of people playing your game. When Tekken 7 costs $25 Canadian or less, which is like what, less than $20 American maybe? Or that's probably about 20 American as in discount. PS4 had a PSA, never. Alright. Sorry, just taking a look if anyone said anything in the Twitch chat. Sorry. There shouldn't even be that much available to buy. They overcharge. I actually do agree with you that I do actually think that DOA's DLC is technically overpriced. The reason why is because I feel that there's two, especially in Dead or Alive 6 compared to kind of the collab stuff in Dead or Alive 5 last round, there's too many palette swaps, which I think should not be charged as much as they do. If they were to do a season pass, I would try, and I'm being honest, if anyone could not tell Master, not harass him, try and limit it to $50 American, like, max. Like, a game costs, what, $60 American? Don't charge more than $60 American. Or people are just going to say, what the hell is a $93 season pass in a $60 game? It's like, it just leads to bad PR, though. They can't do that. We're not accepting the FGC. DOA probably is accepting the FGC as much as Killer Instinct is, in the sense is that if you're not part of the little clique that is the FGC, then like whatever. It also kind of begs the question, who cares if we're accepted by the FGC? Is Smash accepted by the FGC? And they still end up getting like a lot of attention at EVO. Alright. I mean, not this year though, because I know their netcode is kind of hurting a little bit, but like Smash brute force their way into EVO. I don't know if they're accepted by the fighting game community. They do their own thing. They thrive, and that's it. Technically, DOA doesn't have to be accepted by the fighting game community. The developers just need to make a really kick-ass game. People need to be really positive about it and not talk crap. Need to spread that positivity, have passion for the series and spread it. Then boom, there you go, a thriving game. Did DOA 6 at least do well in Japan? I really doubt it. That's what probably hurt DOA 6 a lot, is that it didn't do well in either the Western market or Japanese market, because I heard that the the producer that succeeded Shimbori, that the Japanese players don't really like him. So, I mean, I would love it if DOA 6 could do better in like the Japanese market, because I feel that Japanese players do a really good job of just the way how they kind of go about developing tech and train and all that. I love the arcade scene and stuff like that there. So, it's a shame though that the Japanese scene's not into the game as much as like well, I guess compared to the West, maybe. 50 is way too much. 25 million. Well, the thing though is that if you have a $25 season pass, they just put very little stuff into and have much. For instance, Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur 6's and Tekken 7 season passes are $40 American, well, they were $40 Canadian also. It didn't really come with that much in it. Like, I mean, yeah, it had 4 characters and whatnot though, but I felt that like Tekken and Soul Calibur season passes did not have a lot in it, but on the other hand, they were cheaper. And admittedly, if I had a choice, I would personally go for a smaller season pass for like $40 with a lot less in it, just because it doesn't look bad to onlookers. Smash is probably the biggest fighting game series out there right now. Overall, in terms of size, by a long shot, Smash Ultimate has sold like over 16 million units. No contest. No fighting game comes close in terms of the size of Smash. Of course it is. A lot of people try to dismiss it and treat it differently, but when was the last time Evo had 2 Tekken games at Evo? Street Fighter, even more. That's not really a good comparison because the Smash scene is a bit more unique in a sense that they prop up Melee for like all eternity. Because I mean, otherwise it would just be whatever's the latest game. It wouldn't make much sense to have Tekken 7 and Tekken Tag 2 at the tournament at the same time, though, because Tekken Tag 2 would have had to have been a huge success for that. And if Tekken 2 was a huge success, then we might have gotten Tekken 7 might have been Tekken Tag 3 instead. We didn't have 2 Street Fighters because Evo, quite frankly, I don't think wanted 2 Street Fighters. They could have had Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, but it was just, I don't know, it would have been a pain in the ass to manage. Smash had 2 games at Evo at the same time, yeah, but that's a kind of interesting discussion in itself. Would you want Evo to allow like older versions of games? Like I personally wouldn't mind if Dead or Alive 5 last round would get another shot in a competitive community, although I honestly don't know if it would have enough outside interest for that. As far as optics are concerned, Tekken's current DLC model is better for public perception, Leroy and Frog. Yes, same with Soul Calibur 6 because of the $40 price point for the DLC. Tekken's kind of weird because the fact is I do not in any way whatsoever endorse charging for frame data. Oh crap! There we go. I don't in any way endorse charging for frame data. That was kind of BS, but I mean, oh well, Tekken 7 has frame data now, so that's kind of whatever though. Fakaram and Leroy also I thought were dumb DLC characters. Leroy's actual, in terms of actual character concept, Leroy is damn brilliant. The best thing to have in the fighting game is in years. But then he released, and he was a overpowered broken mess. Fakaram released, overpowered broken mess with busted hitboxes and like whatever. But that kind of also brings another attention though with regards, if you're going to talk about that. Namco ends up now having this kind of small reputation of releasing busted characters. I mean, so people would buy them and then balance them afterwards. That I can't endorse that, but mainly though, the better perception though honestly was because of the price more so than anything. Didn't the guy in charge of Evo have hate the DOA series? You mean the former guy in charge? It's now the Cannon brothers in charge, but yes. Mr. Wizard has hated DOA since DOA 4. I'm not going to go into like reasons why, but whatever. Yeah, they hate it. I feel like that's kind of messed up. Do you think there should be another KOF Maximum Impact if it was a 3D fighter? Overall, if KOF 15 fails, they can try it. Otherwise, nope, don't think it will work. I don't see people in KOF really being into 3D. Virtue. Oh, my drink got warm. New characters always gonna make or break your fighting games. Me remembering my cooler rank trauma. Why? Hey, they did eventually balance Kula. Her ice breath was only minus 15 on block with pushback, so it can push you out of punishment range. But then they made it minus 25, and now Kula is less BS, I guess. Remember core values. I remember core values really well. Core values was the one time when DOA's had probably the most momentum it's had since like probably DOA 4. I'm doing great, King Sparta. Just having a chat here. Woof! Just trying to keep up. Core values was like the most hype 11 days that DOA's ever seen though. And then it got known that it was going to be shafted at EVO, which was no surprise. And then the lobbies weren't going to be ready for launch, and then it kind of went downhill from there. So, but Core Values was the most fun I had ever. Chucking Core Values in Mr. Wizard's face is just, oh wow, that should be like a that should be like a life objective. Yeah. DOA characters are all legal. Do of course was hated it. Yeah, we're not gonna. Anyone that knows why he got fired from EVO will probably figure out quickly why he doesn't like DOA. A lot of SNK3 endeavors ended up in failure. And another franchise had 3D fighters that ended up in failure. Mortal Kombat, or their DC games like Mortal Kombat. Those games failed because the fact is that a 3D fighter is not easy to make. A 2D fighter is easier to make, and a lot more people prefer 2D. So I mean, it's almost like a no-brainer. Bruh, Ice Breath was a pain. It's still a pain. Even though Ice Breath was a huge pain in the ass, I personally actually like really. I kind of like the notion of having a unique character. I personally like how Kula and Mai play in DOA because it's just that cross between a 3D fighter, being in a 3D fighter while having a 2D fighter. Kind of intricacies or mechanics is actually kind of interesting, and I don't find it's busted kind of the way how 2D fighter characters are in Tekken, for instance, where they have like really annoying like properties or pressure or stuff like that. What's up, Ryan Bomber? Man, 3D fighters used to be so many. There was bargain bin games in 2D fighters, though they needed to go that way. I miss KOF Maximum. They was jank, but still it's fun. If I'm not mistaken, when was that? That was around the time of the PS2 era, right? Where fighting games are experimenting with things like 3D, or Mortal Kombat was like experimenting with like 3D arena fighters and stuff like that. I mean, like, oof. And then Street Fighter 4 happened, and then it's been a 2D world ever since, aside from Tekken 7. Why did he hate DOA 4? Because he had it at EVO in 2006, and it only attracted approximately 85 entrants or so. And then he's never given the game a chance ever since. Not Dead or Alive 5, not Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, not Dead or Alive 6, not Dead or Alive Ultimate didn't make it in either. Although I remember it lost the contest to Smash though, so Core Values could have taken us to the top if they Core Values did its job. It's just that the developers made a bit of a mistake by not releasing the game in what I consider a ready state, which is unfortunate though, but it's hopefully they've learned from that, and then their future endeavors will be better. Including that Dark Souls-ish Final Fantasy game. Which I think was called what? Final Fantasy Origins? Even Arxis' Twitter memes things. Oh, Arxis' Twitter is pretty godlike though. But hey, I still remember when the Dead or Alive 6. I think the Doatech Twitter mentioned that Dead or Alive 6 has free full frame data around the same time that Tekken 7 had frame data. I mean they can have their moments though. They also made a reference to Fast and the Furious 9 with about family. Although if I remember that was with Ninja Gaiden though, but you kind of get the idea. Isn't there supposed to be a new KOF coming out? You mean which one? KOF All Stars or KOF 15? KOF 15 will probably be next year. What's up, Ultra Instinct Khalil Rawls? What's up, man? Hello, Force Nature. It's an honor to speak with you. Thank you for tips on your Dead or Alive 6 videos. It's helped me out. No problem, Ultra Instinct Khalil Rawls. Thank you for dropping by and saying hi. And sorry if I feel awkward. I'll get better at this eventually. Sorry, just looking at a Twitch chat here. This guy made Ikaros17 made a comment here that the only thing I dislike about DOA 6. Everyone I play against in my range, I'm too good. Oh man, yeah. That's the unfortunate downside about having a smaller pool of players, though. I mean, like, yeah. Where a game like Overwatch is almost feels like an infinite amount of players, even though it has an infinite level of toxicity also. At least fighting game players are not as toxic as hero shooter players. 15 visually, it looks terrible. Thank you, Rev Ann, for the follow. Thank you. Let me see now. KOF 15, I don't know. I think it looks better than KOF 14, even though that's a really low bar. I actually think that KOF 15, if it does have any sort of visual challenges, like I think Shermie looks great. The only knock about it is that it's still basically using KOF 14's graphics. It's just kind of touched up. But the other game, this one right here, Samurai Showdown, I think this game looks awesome in general. I mean, it's in 4K and I think it looks like really good. It's right, Shermie, the KOF waifu. Other than... Actually, Kula's no waifu. Kula's a double. 2D to 3D translate really well. Pretty well. Alright, and what do people think of 3D to 2D? Basically... like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, for instance. I think the reason Tekken makes a lot of DLC characters so over the top is because they're trying to lure new players. I suppose. Even though, how big does Tekken really need to be, though? Nah, they're wailing at Teller side. What's up, Akira Kazui? Hopefully fighters adopt the rollback netcode in the future. That would be ideal. Very ideal. Mr. Akira Kazui here is speaking some truth. Even though you're probably preaching to the choir, but I mean, yeah, I stated it earlier there. No rollback, no deal. Even though I'll still I mean, we'll support games if I like them, but it's just that what I'm trying to do now is learn games that have rollback. First Killer Instinct, and then I'm considering Guilty Gear, even though Guilty Gear Strive I know has some kind of iffiness about it, but although it does have really good netcode. I tried it out, it's fantastic, but I want to support me some rollback games. Also, move properties doing so many things. You got some moves that do too many things. I think KO 15 looks okay to me. It's definitely a step up from 14. They got their hair in closing. The question I'll just ask right now: how will KOF 15 look in 4K? If it can look as good as, at least, if it can look at a minimum like Samurai Showdown, then I'll be okay. But I admit that it is a criticism, though, that they're still basically using KOF. It's basically just touched up KOF 14 graphics. You got some moves that do 20 different things. You could have a DLC character that has a special mid that is -9 on block, plus 12 on it, then also kind of, then it... Wow, you just kind of... Wait a minute, King Sparta, are you describing Leroy? Speaking of frame data, I do believe it should be accessible in all fighters like it is in DOA. Best way to help people. Oh, for sure, I don't know if I can actually turn it on right now or something. Does it show up here? Oh, ha! I mean, look at this. Frame data! Yeah. It only took Tekken, like 25 years or 25 years to finally add frame data. And Dead or Alive 6 has had frame data since, what now, like 9 years or something like that? Look at this. Frame data. 3 pages worth. I mean, hell, it tells you what the distance are on moves. It tells you, like, the interval frames on delays. I mean, different statuses on moves. Like, this is a brilliant, underrated tool right here, though. I mean, like, it's so underrated. That's why I get incredibly disappointed when games like Soul Calibur 6 don't have frame data. I shouldn't have to look up a wiki page and a spreadsheet to tell what a character's frame data is in 2021 or 2020. Like, I know Tekken got frame data because it's a bigger game, but I still am disappointed that Soul Calibur 6 didn't get anything in return. Because if Soul Calibur, again, along with Dead or Alive 6, if Soul Calibur 6 had rollback, it would be 10 times better online, though, I'd find. Like Dead or Alive 6, I think would actually be downright fantastic if it had rollback. So a free-to-play game with rollback that's on a system more so than just Xbox. Then I mean, yeah, I think Dead or Alive 6 could have done a lot better if its online was if it basically felt like offline. Speaking of frame data, I do believe it should be accessible on offline. Oh yeah, I already said. Mortal Kombat 11 has the best learning tools in the business. Mortal Kombat 11 has really good also. I have to look into that game a bit more. I do have Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. Although I've only honestly have played that game casually. If anyone plays the game, let me know. Should I eventually try and learn that game in the future? Because I honestly think that Killer Instinct is probably the epitome of overall trading tools. Although I know Killer Instinct needs a frame data box. Like Dead or Alive 6, nothing basically touches its frame data box. Not Virtua Fighter, not Tekken, nothing. DOA 6 was salty. DOA 6 was salty, including inducing. Not gonna lie. On the other hand, I don't know what could have been done to make it better. The mechanics and gameplay feel fine. Maybe stages. DOA 6 could maybe use a couple more stages. Most games don't necessarily have more than 20 stages. Dead or Alive 6 has 15 stages, which is on par with most games within their first year, though. But I think it could use a bit more stages, though. I admit, yeah. The unforgettable stage is pretty epic. You know what? Let me have them fight on that stage. Yeah, the unforgettable stage is quite epic, but yeah, DOA 6 could use more stages. The mechanics could use a bit more tweaks. Let me know your thoughts in your chat if DOA should get rid of the ability to move at the start of a round. I think visually DOA 5 looks better than 6. Not really though. I mean, I could pop on some Dead or Alive 5. I could pop on some Dead or Alive 5 right now, and I think 6 looks a lot sharper than it. But I admit, though, I also play in 4K, so in 1080p, though, I'd say it's fairly even. Although, it also depends a bit on your platform. If you're playing on a base PS4 or a base Xbox One, then Dead or Alive 5 last turn, I think actually does look a bit better. DOA 6 frame data gave me life. Oh, it's, again, yeah, for such an underrated tool. Vanessa is also... Vanessa, dude? What about Leona? Oof. Sorry, I got a little worked up. When I was in the lab with DOA 6, I couldn't decide who has the worst neutral game. Diego, Helena, Rio Hayabusa, I'm going to say has the worst. Raido. I don't really like Raido's neutral game. Bayman's I'm not a fan of, but I guess Bayman has a little bit of versatility with offensive holds and defensive parries. I don't really think Bass's neutral game is that good, but he does have his 3K though. So Tekken definitely made new character for new players. Harada kept saying on Twitter he judged DLC and gets hers by Chloe. Yeah. And remember, that's actually probably the reason why he created Lucky Chloe. And then he made a joke that he's going to create a skinhead for the Western players. And he ended up doing that. He gave us Fakura. he just ended up doing it like a couple years later. Well, about 3 years later. How much did you pay from that? Hey, how much did you pay from that frame data? Oh, in Dead or Alive 6, I paid nothing. This frame data you see right here, this is free. But for Tekken 7, it cost me $4. It's $4 Canadian, but it's still $4. Is SoulCal still supported by the devs? Well, oh crap, I put on. Similar to Dead or Alive 6, Soul Calibur 6 is not receiving new content. However, Soul Calibur 6 was featured as a side tournament at EVO this year, and it had a nice tournament just this past week, even though it was online only. But as of right now, Dead or Alive 6 and Soul Calibur 6 are not receiving new DLC, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Show's next DLC is probably the last. They haven't said it's dead yet. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Does Namco actually say when games are quote unquote dead? I mean, it's Koei Tecmo or Team Ninja's way to say when a game's there. Like for instance, they said when they were stopped doing Dead or Alive 5 content, and people say, "Oh, dead game." They stopped doing new content for Dead or Alive 6, and then people are like, "Oh, dead game." It's like, it's just saying that they're just stopping content. The game is dead when people stop playing it. Remember that, people. So it's dead or ah ha 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 ha. Alright, sorry if I do feel a little woozy or anything. I told some people at the beginning, but I'll tell you now. I got my second shot today, so really, I wasn't even sure if I was even going to even do anything tonight, but I was like, screw it. I just felt like having a chat tonight, because today was felt like a good day to just talk about random stuff. What about DOA6's 8 frame input delay? I'm going to say right now, I don't think anything's ever going to really be done about the 8 frame. It might have actually been reduced, I think. Because if you were to play it on at least an Xbox Series X, you get the same delays if it's on PC. Unfortunately, you'll have to eventually move on to either a PS5 Series X or play on Steam if you want lower latency. Because the older consoles didn't really have... Like the PS4 and the Xbox One did not have good CPUs, so... Couldn't really do much about the input delay, unfortunately, for that. I think it was slightly better on Xbox One X for Dead or Alive 6, but... On the bright side, Dead or Alive 5 last round has like very little input delay because it uses the different engine, the soft engine. Few more new male characters too to improve the OS6. Not just male characters, but kind of more, I don't know, out there characters. Kind of like, I know I'm gonna say characters like Alpha-152 or Raido, just character, like maybe non-typical waifu characters. I know some people play DOA for the waifus, but after playing some Killer Instinct, or even like Mortal Kombat, maybe some more kind of characters that, I don't know, are just kind of like, even like in Soul Calibur though, I mean, there's a lot of the unique characters, or I meant both Virtua Fighter and DOA's characters, they don't really stand out as much as like other fighting games, for instance. Even like Tekken's characters stand out a little bit more, but... DOA has, let me check. Alright, Dead or Alive 6 has what, 11 male characters? Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown has 14 male characters. Dead or Alive 5 last year has 15 male characters. So technically, quantity of male characters is actually okay. Hell, Guilty Gear Strive has 15 characters total. So I mean, it's like you said, it's all kind of relative. Yeah. Give me Soul Calibur 7 rollback, no rock paper. Yes. Alright, sorry, yeah, I'm gonna have to chime in on Soul Calibur a bit now. Soul Calibur 7 rollback, yes. No rock paper scissors. Yes. Removing reversal edge, yes. Remove supers, maybe. They can be tweaked. Although I admit that with how Soul Calibur works, you can have 2 bars a meter, you can chuck out 2 supers. So I mean, like, I don't know. They can maybe like tweak it though. And also, I don't know if I'm a fan of supers being one button, because it's just that it takes away the whole kind of, you have to anticipate and execute. You don't have to anticipate. You just see it. Oh, press your one macro. You get a super. Right. Surely Team Ninja tried for DOA 5 Japanese Castle was pretty awesome. Feels like every fighting game now has more input delay. The more input delay is because the Generation 8 consoles, the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Switch have more delay than PC. Also, the PC was commonly what's the term I'm looking for? Was the lead platform for Dead or Alive 6, Soul Calibur 6, and Tekken 7. So as a result, those games just straight up play better on them. But unfortunately, for less latency, you're gonna have to play on PC or get a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. Distance and reach in the skill info are kind of bad though. It doesn't account for startup animation movement, and it's never super clear where it's really accounted from. I wouldn't really say it's bad, because the fact is that, I mean, bad compared to what? Most games don't have that at all. But it's something that could be tweaked though. But it's okay though. I mean, I do admit though that DOA's. It would be nice if they had kind of like a hitbox thing that like Killer Instinct has, so you can see like the moves though. But I mean, you have to kind of feel things out a bit, though, but the distance marker is just to kind of give you the distance thing is really good with regards to telling you how far moves reach. Here we go. I hope we get some current gen only fighting games soon. Bye, P4, bye. Sure. Well, I'll have to see how Guilty Gear Strive is once I get a PS5, because on the PS4 it basically kind of looks like Xrd. Because I'm pretty sure that the engine probably can't really go much further on PS4. PS5 doesn't even exist. That's how I feel every time I step into like a GameStop or a Best Buy. The PS5 is a myth. But I still see some people walk out with this mythical PS5. I like Chloe. Round start movement is fine. Save some for movement. Have to think harder about round start. Yeah, I guess the movement thing is fine, though. I mean, you can move around at the start of round in Killer Instinct, and I don't think it necessarily hurts the game. But that kind of brings up the question, though, is do you think jabs should be normalized to just 10 frames for lightweights and middleweights, and 11 frames for grapplers and all super heavyweights? Oh my god, I hated it. Yeah. Oh man. I'll tell you how I feel tomorrow, though. I managed to finish an extra tips of the day video for DOA. That's something I had in mind, so I wanted to complete it before I went for it. So yeah, I got it, and oof. I'll feel it tomorrow if I have any side effects. I hope Raito gets big boss in the. If I were to give my thoughts on that, I personally say it's a less than 50% chance that Raito would even return for Dead or Alive 7. But if he does return, then yes, I'd want him to be better. Basically, I don't feel they had any reason to nerf his movement so much. I mean, it's like, how do you play footsies with Raito? you either zone or you don't. Dio is great. I feel like it's the only fighting game with really good mechanics that won't ever be explored. That is really... I wouldn't say it wouldn't really get explored, but DOA feels incredibly underexplored. What I mean by that, though, is that there's so much potential in DOA, but it doesn't feel explored. I will admit, though, that I felt that Dead or Alive 5 last year on had more potential, where with Dead or Alive 6, you can... Admittedly, Dead or Alive 6 has less overall depth than... Wow, this stage is amazing. Dead or Alive 6 has a lot less overall depth than Dead or Alive 5 last round. But yeah, there's still stuff to always be explored, though, I find. Especially with the way how the environment comes into play, reacting to stuff. Like even in Dead or Alive 6, you can technically sidewalk around stuff with a lot of delay. I was talking to Matt Ponton earlier today. There's 3 frames in the engine, and then it's PC, good Xbox, everything. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So from Xbox One X onwards, because a Series X actually does feel... I'll say sure, the game feels good on it. It feels good. Xbox One X, I think, was a bit better. Its load times were still slow, but I think it had the reduced latency, and PC is fantastic. Not gonna lie, Team Ninja giving up on DO6 really made me give up after a while. Do you know what's funny? That's how I felt after that announcement at NEC in 2017. That people thought that Dead or Alive was dead or something, or Dead or Alive 5 last round was dead. Boom! 6 months later, they released Dead or Alive 6. So I can see them possibly giving Dead or Alive 6 Ultimate another chance, but it would basically be like a last round like game. Basically, just moving Dead or Alive 6 to next gen, because creating a Dead or Alive 7 would be more expensive. That's why we get season passes. That's why we get small updates. Because at this point, we're basically just going to get one mainline game per generation is what we might get. Generation 9 might be the same thing. When Tekken 8 comes out, it will be just it will just be the Generation 9. When Soul Calibur 7 comes out, just Generation 9. Didn't feel right. Anyway, though, if you enjoy DO8, keep playing it. Don't worry about the kind of negative feedback too much or anything like that. Hitomi Lei Fang stood out to me. Oof. I see you like them waifu and a Neo character. Well, the only Neo characters they're going to add is Okatsu from the first Neo. I mean, Williams he's in Warriors All-Stars, but I don't know if they would ever put Neo in DOA, though. They honestly don't really have much confidence in putting male characters in this game. Ione's 1 people's KP says reach like 1.5 meters, but she moves back a ton, so it's more like 108. Well, it's talking about the distance from when she moves back, because the move, obviously the move induces a whiff. You're not intended to use the move necessarily at range. It's used as kind of like a pressure move more in close. Although you could also use it when you're kind of controlling space with twirls, and someone kind of runs at you. Then you can use it as, you could charge it up as like a guard break. But yeah, that's kind of a individual quirk. You can't stand a form doesn't know whether a form will touch you. That's just kind of taken into account, I think, hitboxes and stuff like that. If we see a color of hitboxes, Coco's would be a miss. Coco's hitbox would just be an elbow. That's what it would be. I assume Matt and whoever else contributes to 6++ modern will buffer. Honestly, if anything, all they really have to do is buff his movement to be normal. Like, why does hell does like Rachel get super good movement and the other super heavyweights get bad movement? Although Bass and to a lesser extent Bayman do have some strongish tools though. Oh, Force Nature. What are your thoughts on possible DOA 7? Well, I don't know. I think that's the third time I responded to this, but I'm saying that as of right now, it's under wraps. We're more likely to get a Dead or Alive 6 Ultimate. If you want it, you have to tell Team Ninja that you want it. And you have to do it in a way that is not annoying, not toxic, and is not giving them crap. So it has to be in a respectful way and showing that you really want it. And to show that you're supporting them. PS5 GG Strive has the worst input delay at 5 frames. PC version has a near 0. Alright, gotcha. Thanks, Ryan. All the animation mirror and DOA hasn't really been explored, but if somebody could pay attention to when you can free step to one side, could have an advantage. It sounds like a bad port. If Guilty Gear Strive has 5 frames of lag on PS5, how much do you think PS4 has? Probably the same 8 frames that Unreal Engine games tend to have. All the animation mirror and DOA hasn't really been explored, but if somebody could pay attention to when you can free step to one. Oh yeah, yeah. Now I get what you mean. Yeah, that's part of the kind of stuff that needs to be kind of explored with DOA. Is kind of like in terms of using things, I guess like free steps, frames, being able to like respond to things, optimal punishes on certain things. I mean, stuff like that. Like Ione 66KK4. What's up, Joshido Brown? Thanks for dropping by. They're better off making a new DOA with rollback, to be honest. Yes. Under most circumstances, DOA would need to be rebooted. But I'd be open for a Dead or Alive 6 Ultimate that just simply makes correct moves. Fun times in Cam's Arcade. Is that really your name? sorry. I hope Koei Tecmo just goes back to DOA 5 last one for another Master Edition and forgets 6 everything and gives us a 6 characters. A lot of the characters in Dead or Alive 5 last round were guest characters. There were approximately 6 guest characters. And I honestly think the existence of Alpha 152 is like a minus character. Like you said, Dead or Alive 6 actually, in my opinion, kind of removed mostly the right characters. Like removing Alpha 152 is good. I mean, a lot of people actually did not like fighting against the Virtua Fighter characters. I kind of like their existence, but Sarah was kind of like really cheap. So I mean, like, on one hand, I kind of miss their existence in the game, but on the other hand, I mean, like, they did frustrate a lot of players though. Honestly, I just think Unreal Engine 4 doesn't work on PlayStation. To be specific, Unreal Engine 4 doesn't work as well with 60 frame per second games that are not optimized. So, 3D fighters, I don't think are a good mix for Unreal Engine. I personally think Tekken 7 looks awful unless you're playing it on PC. Like, I would have to play Tekken 7 on PC for it to look good, because then it looks horrible on Xbox, and it honestly looks kind of grainy and a little blurry on PlayStation 4 to include in the Pro. Unless, with the exception of the intro cutscenes, which actually do look good in Tekken 7. Final Fantasy VII Remake. You don't understand engines if you think that. I'm close to writing a formal letter by hand to get the OE6. Like Hayabusa's 6KK is steppable technically. That's just bad work with having no real PS5. No, I get what you mean though, because you're right though. A lot of PS5 games now are just simply PS4 games that have a little slight, maybe a little. They basically have a little slight buff with resolution. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Guilty Gear Strive just looks like a buff to the resolution. Unreal 4 is an excellent engine. Unreal Engine 4 and 5 actually are good engines. They just don't jive well with, particularly with 3D fighters. Although I do admit though they're also used for games. Well, they're also used for games that are like a Street Fighter or Samurai Showdown that have, technically the NRS games that have 3D graphics on a 2D plane. It's just that I just felt the games probably need to be better optimized. I mean, I know it's all a Japanese game. So it's just the devs being whack. To an extent, possibly. Yeah, it could be that though. PS5 Strive is like 5 frame delay. PS4 is 4, and PC is like 0.7. So basically, no discernible delay, and it's 0.7. But yeah, Unreal Engine is fine with 30 frame per second games also. Yeah. But it's just 60 frame per second fighting games. It can be a little iffy. Like, I find that the Unreal Engine games, again, like Samurai Showdown or Soul Calibur 6 work great on a Series X though, but yeah. I can agree that Dead or Alive 5 is much better than Dead or Alive 6. One thing I miss from Dead or Alive 5 is the lag emulator. Sarah was cheap in Dead or Alive 5. I thought Pi was the cheapest character. Both Pi and Sarah would give you fits. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that hated fighting Akira also. Or getting juggled by Jackie. Where you can do 3 straight flash sword kicks in a combo. Instead of a formal letter, get a petition with at least 20,000 digs. Well, SIGs, yeah. Tekken 7 looks horrible on Series X. I like the game but refuse to play that eyesore. What's the... Not only does Tekken 7 not have a Series X patch, it never got an Xbox One X patch. It's almost kind of hilarious how bad it looks. Like, this is how Dead or Alive 6... I could put it on right now to show you, but it's just like... It's honestly an abomination, and I don't know if that was because of incompetence on Bandai Namco's or not giving a fuck, so it's like... It honestly just really annoyed me, though. Because I'm forced to have to play on either PlayStation or on PC instead, though. And the PC version was the last version I got, so I don't have any DLC for it. I'm curious if we'll see Street Fighter 6 on the Resident Evil engine. That will be interesting. I think the Resident Evil engine might possibly be one of, if not the best Japanese engine, though. I mean, 60 frames per second with AAA quality graphics? Yes, please. I'm curious if we'll see... Also, did I miss him talking about VF? He started making everything. I haven't really talked about VF that much. There's like a lot of stuff for DOA. Yeah, I can talk about VF now. The main thing I'm going to say right now with VF is that they shouldn't have bothered releasing Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown unless they were giving us a full promise that we're going to release Virtua Fighter 6. Don't release Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown and say, okay, if this game does well, we'll release a Virtua Fighter 6. That is unfair to the fan base and people potentially interested in the game. Because I feel that Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown straight up does not do enough to really justify itself being another release. Like with Guilty Gear released in 11 days, about 10 days after it, I just felt that the Ultimate Showdown needed to do a better job in terms of, and basically, number one, having some sort of casual appeal, having more offline content. It's like, it's really hard to retain people with with Ultimate Showdown, for instance, because the game just doesn't simply offer enough. It's completely reliant on you wanting to play the game online. I mean, the game having delay-based netcode kind of makes it worse, because the actual sad thing, I think Ultimate Showdown might be one of the best cases of showing off the limits of delay-based netcode. What I mean by that is, when you play with someone, preferably that you know, and lives, like, let's say, for instance, if I play someone who lives, like, I know that lives half an hour from me, then the connection feels like offline. I can have a serious practice session with them. If I go on the ranked and play some random, then a game feels like complete dog shit. And then each match feels like complete, like, garbage. I can't, like, do anything properly. It's like, it's very frustrating majority of the time. So, I mean, with Ultimate Showdown forces you to have to play people that have both good connections and live not too far away in a similar region. So, I mean, it's... it was very frustrating when I played it. They started making everything on it. Oh, Devil May Cry 5 look gorgeous on the RE engine. The Resident Evil games from Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 look gorgeous on the RE engine also. I think the biggest problem with DOA 6 is that the game became very Arc System Anime Fighter-ish, where character became more focused individual game plans, but need universal panels to push it, and not everyone. I don't think that Dead or Alive 6 is kind of like an anime fighter at all, because it has very simple implementation of a meter. It's just the implementation of meter could use a little bit more refinement. Like, I just feel that kind of the way how it is in here, it's like... I mean, anytime I see a round end due to a random... or basically a raw break blow being tossed out, I kind of like die a little on the inside. Whereas when someone got hit by a power blow, that was freaking epic. Like, every time I got hit by with break blow, it's like, oh my god, meter. The Dragon engine at Sega is pretty good, but it's really intensive. It's the issue. I do think the Dragon engine does have a similar issue, I guess, with that 3D fighters have in general, is that they're very GPU intensive. Like, whenever you play one of these 3D fighters on PC, like you said, it heats up your PC, and then you just have to tweak the settings a lot in order to make sure it's running at a smooth 60 frames per second or something like that. So I can tell you, fighting games on PC tend to be very intensive, and also I can tell the Dragon engine's very intensive on the PlayStation 4, because the thing sounds like a freaking jet engine every time I play the game. Like, there's no way in this room I'm in right now, you can't escape the sound. The US should do more. To be fair, Strive was delayed like twice. They didn't expect Strive to steal the thunder. That was an unfortunate case, because I'm pretty sure no one would intentionally release your game. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't intentionally release Ultimate Showdown 10 days before Strive. That was kind of unfortunate, but it's... Honestly though, if you put out a really well put together product, then you don't have to worry about the competition. Same deal with Dead or Alive 6. If the overall product was really good at the start, then you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about Mortal Kombat 11, for instance. Those mechanics in Dead or Alive 6 are the meter system and almost close-hit bound, and the game plan is mostly stun launch. Critical delay based is trash. That should get a thumbs up. Isn't Strive also only for people who want to play online? There's little offline unless you want to talk about the movie. That's actually an interesting thing, though. The anime movie looks cool, but again, it's literally just a movie. It's not gameplay. Monster Hunter Switch games were on the RE engine as well, but not Monster Hunter World though. Hitome's a whiff punish character in DOA 6. You gotta wait and make him pay. Oh yeah, Hitome's whiff punishment is really good, but you can also use your whiff punishment to. You can also use your whiff punishment opportunities as an opportunity to set up pressure on your opponent too, especially with that great 6T throw. Strive has no value for single player. Well, Strive has a great tutorial though in mission mode. Even though the mission mode, I guess, The mission mode's just a tutorial, isn't it? Now that I think about it. Strive has bare bones single player, but the online is godlike in the tower system. They won't run. I've only done, I think, some lobby matches, and I might have done like a couple of ranked matches in Strive. How exactly are the online offerings? The netcode's good though, but like, does this have like Soul Calibur, something equivalent to like Soul Calibur 5's Global Colosseo? I mean, is there really good online content, or is it just simply good netcode? And I personally think Strive's lobbies look really ugly. I really hate that aesthetic style they went with. I don't think the 8-bit style works with the game. I can't run Yakuza 7 on PC regardless of settings. It stutters like hell. Unfortunately, I'll probably have to play Yakuza 7 on console if that happens. The matchmaking is less because of the Yakuza Tower mod. The OS6 not launching this lobby. Yes. Now that was a huge self-inflicted error on the part of Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja. And on the higher ups in Sega. It's on the higher ups in Sega. Power blows is so much cooler than brick blows. I actually don't mind brick blows. I like it that brick blows are short and to the point, whereas Soul Calibur 6 has these supers that just like go on forever. On the other hand, I like it though that since power blows are pretty uncommon. I mean, when you hit them, it was pretty hype and epic though, and it can hit you in the environment. Yeah, overall, I do prefer brick blows over power blow. Oh crap! I can hear it raining outside. Monster Hunter World was before Resident Evil 2 remake, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, yeah, it came out a year before in January 2018. 6 not letting me keep and use 5 last round DLC costumes was a crap move. Also, serious hoping Atlas executives take over some positions at Sega proper. Possibly though, but it's Japanese work culture though. They'll take over when they'll take over when the old people retire. That's just how it is. Atlas is far more competent than Sega. Long cutscenes suck. For sure. I hate long I don't know. For a weird reason, I don't complain about Grand Blue Supers just because I was a fairy player and I never got tired of watching fairy supers. But yeah, long cutscenes just makes you feel like you're watching a movie. RE is cheeks. I mean, the casual crowd who supers are for, and I hate them in Calibur. Tekken 7 looks kind of grimy. Sorry, just checking both chats right now. I guess the thing also about long cutscenes, and now I'm going back to I'm using Soul Calibur 6 here because the rage arts are kind of whatever in Tekken because they don't usually hit that often in Tekken unless you play Double Jin. As for supers, the thing though is that when you're already getting your ass kicked, there's nothing worse than having to deal with a long cutscene when you're getting your ass kicked. Soul Calibur 6 CEs are pretty great in my opinion. It's the reversal edges are horrible in terms of, and reversal edge was terrible for slowing down the pace. I will give credit though that like I say, I was a nightmare player at Soul Calibur that the actual critical edges look good, like they're very pretty. They run in they're a 60 frame per second animation, so they look very pretty. But yeah, they can be a little lengthy though. But yeah, everything about the reversal edge is just god awful and needs to be gone for Soul Calibur 7. And yes, anytime I'm going to make a mention of Soul Calibur 6, I'll keep that in mind, though. Alright, just for the last bit of the stream, I'm going to show you Dark Force now. Is this too dark, though? Oh, this thing is like blinding me right now. They should be more like rage drives. Brick blows are too long for how simple they are. I disagree. I find that brick blows are... Look at Ione's brick blow right now. Like, it's a good balance between being straight to the point but also still feeling pretty powerful. It's kind of funny. When I'm thinking of brick blows, I think of Ain's power blow from Dead or Alive 5. Ain's or Dead or Alive 5, it was literally just a big punch. He connects the power blow and just boom! Ah, damn, I miss Ein. Ein was just freaking dope. Oh crap! I feel like I'm blinding myself right now. Here's hoping Platinum Games gets hired to do a fighting game. I couldn't imagine. Oh man, a Platinum Games fighting game. It's a shame that Bayonetta is basically in Smash. I don't know if she would appear in any other game. The DOA stage, for instance, should be skipped when a character dies. Not really. I don't mind the extra visual seeing that though. It looks cool. I actually kind of like it how the game doesn't skip anything when someone dies though. You get to see the full animation though. So I don't mind that. It's not kind of like in Killer Instinct how you can keep ultra comboing someone to death or something like that. So the animations at the end of a round are not bad. But bring back the ability to be able to be able to move at the end of a round. I won't say teabag or overkill, but at least be able to move it around because it will help me identify douchebags a bit more easily. Damn, I love the Grand Blue Super Skybound arts because they changed the windscreen. It's so cool. Soul Calibur 6 actually does the same thing with critical edges. If you win a round with a critical edge, the character says something at the end, and it's always fun. Lightning fine. Shave the time in all of those animations by like 30%. I think she'd show up in a Platinum game. That's easy one. When you're talking about the animations, are you talking about Soul Calibur? You're talking about Soul Calibur, right? Yeah, I think they should be maybe a little... They could be a little longer than Dead or Alive 6's, but not as long as they are. Yeah, 30% should be okay. Where did I... Oh, there's my... I was wondering where I put my drink. Alright, guys. Just going to be on for an extra, 5 minutes. So I do want to thank you for everyone who joined the stream. Woo! 29 watching now. Nice. I think she's opening it, so... We can still chat a bit more now, but I'm going to have to go this... Just to end it off right now, since I haven't really said anything about it. What do you guys think of Tekken 7? Just your thoughts. And more so in terms of its... both of its stand-in the fighting game community, its disposition. Any thoughts on Tekken 7? What it does well, what it does badly? Oh wow, this got all warm now. Oh, I need some water. Talking for a couple hours. I meant the brick blows, but call it 60% for CE. Oh, sorry, Kaiser Rusham. When I saw the green, I thought it was Morgan for a second. Sorry. Nah, I think the brick blow animations are fine though. I find though, because they're a lot shorter than the power blow animations. It's just that after playing the game for 2 years, I don't need those all the time. You're almost making me thinking that fighting games should have a toggle for their supers. Kind of like how in an RPG you just cut off the... Like in Yakuza 7 you just turn off the special move animations after a while. Tekken 7 is just too inconsistent. To an extent, yeah, the roster is kind of crazy at times. I do admit that Virtua Fighter and DOA's rosters probably feels more... And Soul Calibur's roster probably feel more consistent in itself. Even though Soul Calibur also has characters like Aswell and like 2B that are just kind of crazy in a 16th century melee weapon fighter. Because when you think of Soul Calibur, you almost think of something more like For Honor, where it's just simple melee fighting. And then you have like Aswell or like Viola or like 2B and like woof, and it just goes completely nutty. I'm not the biggest fan of its gameplay, but it's fun to watch. Screw them for trying to... I will give absolute credit that Tekken 7 has the hypest tournaments. Easily. I'd say it's really hype. Even though I think Soul Calibur 6 and Dead or Alive 6 look a lot more beautiful, Tekken tournaments just look crazy. However, if you're watching Tekken at something that's below high-level play, then this looks really clunky. The same could be said for VF. High-level play is a thing of beauty, but anything below high-level play looks kind of messy. Breaking the game every freaking... Breaking character every... Season 3, I admit, was a bit of a train wreck for Tekken 7. No rollback, that's... I don't know, I mean, Harada's a dope dude, and I generally like him. But that whole Tekken was 3 thing was just... Like, dude, I mean, love ya, Harada, but you gotta stop putting your foot in your mouth at certain times. Like, whenever someone calls you out on BS like that, you end up saying something, like, dumb like that. Like Harada's good when Harada's good when he's tearing someone down, but when he's talking about something that he doesn't know how to explain properly and try and look clever, then he just looked like an idiot. Like that whole Tekken is 3 thing, I'm never gonna let Harada live that down. No like terrible visuals at this point. It still hasn't good be. Its base design is okay. Like there's the it was like an orthogonal stage where it had really nice rain effects. The Howard Estate is a gorgeous stage also, but the game is literally an early 2015 game because it's been in the arcade since early 2015. When it released in mid 2017, Tekken 7 looked dated out of the gate, where Soul Calibur 6 looks gorgeous, Dead or Alive 6 looks gorgeous, and then Tekken 7's just ew. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown looks decent, but yeah, I do think the intensiveness of the Dragon Engine kind of holds up. I would have liked it if they had a Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown for PS5, Xbox Series X, Steam. I mean, like something other than just PS4. Shout out the Way of the Samurai 4. Just make Supers more to the point without being cinematic. Tekken 7 is fun, likely because I just bought it last month. I only play solo. Oh, practicing combos in Tekken 7 is actually a lot of fun, though. You can use a lot of crazy stuff. Since you joined after Season 3, characters can... I think almost any character can kind of just do a wall carry combo from round 1 fight. But I don't know, but hitting someone with the Magic 4 never gets tired in Tekken 7. It is a lot of fun, though. But I also dislike... Although in Tekken 7, I just really don't like the 2D characters in that game. I also dislike the movement in Tekken. I really want more for you. Maybe so. I kind of like it how you can do proper spacing if you have your movement down. It's just that learning Korean backdash canceling just feels so obnoxious when Dead or Alive 6 has pretty good movement system. Soul Calibur 6 has an excellent movement system, and Virtua Fighter, of course, has a very sophisticated movement system in it. And Tekken basically option is just to make everything cancelable, which sounds good in theory, and to an extent it works. So, but it just feels kind of weird to base your game around a movement option that never ever gets mentioned by either the game. I don't think it even gets mentioned by the development team or anything. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Korean backdash is a glitch. Whereas the free step block backstep in Dead or Alive 6 is not a glitch. Although, Korean backdash is an intentional glitch. There you go. Tekken 7 has a lot of visual noise that I don't like looking at, and some of the animations look like they have hit stop, which they can't stand. I will give Tekken 7 and more specifically Soul Calibur 6 credit. I actually like it that those games have a lot of hit effects. It makes the statuses really well. Because as you can see right here, Dead or Alive 6 has very few hit effects. It gives it a more pure feeling, but for the players though, I mean, it's a little bit more difficult, I guess, to kind of like confirm things, whether you block, whether you score a hit. I mean, I guess it's easier to confirm things in the games with more hit effects. With that said, at times it can also make Tekken or Soul Calibur look like light shows. Tekken 7 is a fighting game that acts like a fighter. No good single player stuff other than customization options. Tekken 7 is a pretty good fighter though. I'd say it's a bit of a toss-up between Tekken 7 and Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown for which is more solid. I'm leaning a bit towards Ultimate Showdown because Tekken at times feels like it takes like some aspects of Virtua Fighter like juggle combos and challenge in movement, and it seems to kind of base the game around that. So Tekken 7's heavily based around challenge in movement, juggles, and of course I noticed other 3D fighter things like sidesteps, other kind of tech like knowing which side to sidestep and stuff like that. But movement with punishment and juggles is like most of the game though. And when I say juggles, I also mean like wall combos, pressure and stuff like that. But you kind of get the idea. Where Virtua Fighter feels like a bit more well-rounded in its focus, if that makes any sense. Isn't VF every 3D fighter's grandpa? Yes, especially DOA's. It's actually DOA's daddy. Steam and Xbox version of Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown are coming. Sega just only wants Japanese esports first. And I'd say right now that that's exactly the kind of move that a Japanese developer would do, is if they show that they don't give a fuck about the Western gaming community, is giving the Japanese community a head start or a go-ahead. I mean, Street Fighter V is lucky to really be thriving, because really, Street Fighter V decided to go to esports first, we'll give you a game later thing, and like they did stuff like patching the arcade mode. Like that, I mean, that's just not acceptable, though. I mean, that's, like, no offense, but that's the kind of thing that a Japanese developer would do if... That's the kind of thing they would do if they say, like, okay, we're just going to cater about the Japanese, and really, if the Western like our game, then whatever. It's kind of natural they take from it. DOA is very aggressive with it. Yeah. Oh, anyways, guys, I'm gonna have to. Tekken's move. Oh, sorry, I just look at something right now. Tekken's move notation system seems way worse than numpad. For the most part, I do kind of agree. On one hand, Tekken's notation is easier to understand if you're new to fighting games and don't know directional notation. But once you learn directional notation and that it's based around a numpad, it makes explaining moves so much easier. Because Tekken's notation is very weird with regards to unusual things. Things that aren't just simply down forwards or forward forwards or quarter circle forwards. Like anything, where Tekken's notation can get messy very easily. With numerical, you just use numbers for everything. They dropped Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Street Fighter 5. Yeah, I mean, Street Fighter 4 did well, and Street Fighter 5 is probably doing better than it probably deserves to. I mean, yeah, they finally got it fixed a bit better with Season 3, but after 2016, though, I mean, Street Fighter 5 really left a bad taste in my mouth. Capcom's very lucky they dropped 3 bad launch fighting people still buy. Yeah, Street Fighter gets by way too heavily on its legacy, I find. Where Tekken 7, I guess, kind of earned it after Tekken Tag 2 kind of set them back a bit. I know the 2 recent one. What's the third? Will you ever review Kia Hume and also a good idea. Love the vids. Keep it up. Thank you, Pineapple Lemonade. Yeah, unfortunately now, guys, I'm gonna have to sign off now. Yeah, it's after 11 ADT here. So, but thank you for dropping by. I might consider having another chat. I'm only gonna probably be doing the chats on weekends, also because that's probably when more people is active, since I don't have to worry about work or anything like that. So yeah, I'll keep you updated if I do more chats. I might end up doing them on like Saturdays or Sundays, so keep it open. I'm gonna aim on them for 2 months. I'm gonna think of like kind of like a main kind of like focus, or if there's something to kind of discuss, and then we'll go over it. But the last question I'll say before I go: where do DOA, Soul Calibur, or Virtua Fighter go from here? But just leave the response in the chat, and then I'll stay in the chat for a bit and we can discuss that. For everyone else, though, have a good night.